racing games look gorgeous and they can be pretty fun to play. But old racing games, oh my days, old racing games just hit different. And today I'll be going through why that's the case, so 4,000 likes is the target if you want to help me out. And also let me know what you prefer, old racing games or new ones. Thank you very much, and now let's get into this video. Racing games debut, they usually have very ambitious goals as they make the games to sort of stand out. For example, Burnout is the crashing game, Driver is that old school car chase game, Midnight Club is that sort of underground hip hop racing game, Test Drive Unlimited is that one-to-one scale map open world cruising game, Need for Speed is the street racing game, Forza Horizon is the festival racing game, and The Crew is that really gritty open world racing game that's set in the whole of the USA. But nowadays, Burnout, Driver and Midnight Club have basically just gone. Test Drive Unlimited has taken this really long hiatus, but it is coming back, which is very good news, and The Crew has slowly turned into a Forza Horizon wannabe. Like, it used to be this really gritty racing game, but now it's this happy, colourful festival racing game. Honestly, it seems like racing game developers are scared of change, like they're all trying to make their games like Forza Horizon nowadays. It's so weird. Though I do have to give credit to Need for Speed though, because they seem to be the only racing game that seems to have kept the identity of a street racing game. But how EA are treating Need for Speed is just straight up disrespectful. Now, the reason why I prefer old racing games is not always to do with the developers, because sometimes other people are to blame. Like car manufacturers, because car manufacturers nowadays, they are so snobby, man. They are so snobby. I mean, if you played any of the older Forza games like the Xbox 360 Forza games, then you would know that the damage model used to be fantastic. As you know, the bumpers would get dysmorphed, the windows would shatter, parts would fall off, and like bumpers would get torn off. Like, it was so amazing. But nowadays, the damage model is so tame, and you might be wondering, why would they downgrade it? Like, it was such a good damage model before. Well, the reason why they downgraded it is because of the car manufacturers, because they don't want their cars looking damaged. And because of that, nowadays, if you crash a car in Forza or basically any racing game, all you really get are dents and scratches, which is not very satisfying. I want to tear the bumpers off my car because that is a funny, man. That is a funny. Though there are weird exceptions, like the damage model in Need for Speed games is pretty good, and it's the same for games like Dirt. So yeah, I don't know if like car manufacturers have a more strict license for Forza games so they don't damage their cars as much, or if Forza do genuinely have worse damage model. I don't know, but the licensing is one of the reasons why the damage model has been downgraded in modern racing games. And also thanks to stupid manufacturers like Ferrari. I mean, I think their cars are amazing, but it's a stupid manufacturer. Customization parts like the Liberty Walk kit and that other wide body kit for the Ferrari 458 are no longer seen in games like Forza, because Ferrari don't want you modifying a virtual car in a video game, which is just so stupid. Like, what's wrong with you, Ferrari? Oh, but Ferrari are not the only stupid in video games, because Toyota are weird as well. I mean, Toyota are known for incredible cars like the Supra, the Chaser, the Celica, the Sora, but they do not want to be featured in Need for Speed games because apparently Need for Speed promotes street racing. So yep, you can't put all the blame towards the developers because car manufacturers are somewhat to blame as well. I feel like racing games and video games in general are just way too focused on graphics and trying to make the game hyper realistic. I mean, don't get me wrong, the games do end up looking great. I mean, look at Forza Horizon 5, it's a beautiful game, but it's like they focus way too much on the graphics that the game just ends up feeling soulless but with good graphics. I mean, honestly, with the new Forza Motorsport game, the trailer was basically them just showcasing the graphics. They're all like, look at the reflections in the paintwork. Oh, and speaking of the paintwork, we have clear coat and it reflects the paint and you can see the paint chipping away. Like, we do not care, okay? We do not care. I mean, I'm sure like graphic snobs and like console war fanboys do care about that stuff, but come on, we should be focusing more on the gameplay than the graphics. Like, focusing a whole trailer on the graphics of a game is just crazy. I mean, some of my best memories in racing games were in games like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, Test Drive Unlimited, Burnout 3, Gran Turismo 3, which were not exactly like great looking racing games. So yeah, man, games don't need to be hyper realistic to be good. All they need is just good gameplay, good features and soul that make you feel something, because when you put most of the work into the graphics, the game ends up feeling soulless. Nowadays, with the likes of social media and apps like the TalkTick, get it? Because it's meant to be TikTok, but I said okay, shut up. Anyways, nowadays with the likes of social media, people's attention spans have diminished diminish. People get so bored so quickly. So it takes a lot to keep players hooked onto a game when their attention span is shorter than mine. And Game Pass does not help whatsoever with people's attention spans, because if anything it makes it worse. As with Game Pass, you can hop onto one game and go to another game very easily. Like, it's so quick, you can go from one game to the other and to the other. Like, and Forza Horizon 5, believe it or not, was launched on Game Pass. So to keep players interested in the game, the developers decided to give you incredible cars at the start of the game, which made you feel like you completed the game as soon as you opened it up. Like, honestly, this is like loading up FIFA Ultimate Team and your squad is just full of rare gold players with like 100 chemistry. That's basically what Forza have done with Forza Horizon 5. Now, I don't blame Forza for doing this because they're trying to attract casuals to the game, and if you want to attract casuals, then you need to stimulate them with very exciting cars. But to us car guys and hardcore racing game fans, this just breaks our hearts. So yeah, I know developers kind of have to do this nowadays because of how overstimulated and short the attention spans of players are nowadays, but I really wish they wouldn't do this because it just ruins racing games and video games in general. Now, old racing games used to come with incredible storylines with very interesting and engaging characters which you either loved or hated. And sometimes in the storyline you get a bit of animosity, and we absolutely loved the animosity as it made you feel something. Like, you either loved the characters or you hated the characters, but no matter how you felt about the characters, you always loved the storyline. However, nowadays, storylines in racing games seems like a thing of the past. The only racing game nowadays that really has a storyline is Need for Speed, but other than that, all the other racing games they don't have a storyline. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, now I feel like the reason why we don't have storylines anymore is because some people may get offended by certain characters. So racing game developers want to keep it safe and make the game family friendly so everybody can play the game and generate a lot of money. And it's such a shame because games like the Crew 1 had such an incredible storyline, one of the best I've seen in a racing game. But now that franchise is just a Forza Horizon clone, which is just really disappointing. Like, how can you turn this incredible, unique game into a wannabe of one of the most generic racing games ever made? Like, it's just like, what? Why? When racing games debut, the developers are so ambitious to make it great. And this explains why we used to see features like indicators and interior modifications and cutscenes and good offline support. The Crew 1. But nowadays, developers don't run video games like they're passionate about it, they run it more so like it's a business. Yes, I do know the video game industry is a business, but at the end of the day, you need to add a bit of passion into it as well. But yeah, my developers do nowadays treat video games like businesses, and they look into things like the effort to profit ratio. That's a term I literally just made up now, but yeah, what I'm trying to say is that they're trying to make sure that the work they put into features pays out in profit, if you get what I mean. Like, they want to minimize the effort and maximize the profit, if that makes more sense. Anyways, this explains why Forza still have some broken car sounds and they won't update car models either. Because all the developers think is, why go through all of that effort to remodel cars and update the sounds when casual gamers and kids don't really notice? Like, it's only the car guys that notice, so why would we update it? They try to cater to the bigger demographic. Like, if the demographic of car guys was bigger, then they'll of course update it. But with this game, there are way more casuals playing this than there are racing game fans and car enthusiasts. So of course they're not going to go through all of that work just to remodel cars, update the car sounds, add indicators, add like interior customization cutscenes. Because all that effort, it's just not worth it for them when they can focus on features which casuals enjoy. Now, is it just me, or do racing games not feel like they're made for car guys anymore? In so many modern racing games, we have so many missing car features. The cars we want to get added into racing games never get added, and it just feels like they just listen to what the casuals want. The car list in most racing games nowadays are just full of modern, powerful cars which appeal to kids. It's always, look at this brand new Lamborghini, look at this brand new Ferrari, look at these SUVs. But it's never the niche cars that we want to get added into the game. It's like all the developers think about is, what sort of cars would attract kids to the game? Oh, I have an idea. And then the car list just gets filled with so many hypercars and barely any ordinary cars. It's so annoying. Now, I love ordinary cars in racing games because it adds a lot of relatability to the game. Because typically racing games are all about supercars and hypercars, but when you see an ordinary car in there, you get so happy. And let's be honest, as a kid, we've all recreated our parents' car in-game. And And you know, ordinary cars are great choices for starter cars as well. I mean, take a look at Forza Motorsport 4. The starter cars in that game were not cars like GTIs and AMGs and RS3s and crazy high performance cars like that. You know, they were ordinary cars with base spec engines and base spec trim. Okay, now sure, in real life people would love to own an R32 Golf, but in games we want a 1.9 TDI because funny. And it's so sad to see Need for Speed games car lists going from these very basic ordinary cars. You know, all of these cars seem like regular traffic, and nowadays we just have these high-end expensive performance cars. I'm like, what are you doing? Honestly man, ordinary cars need to be mandatory in racing games.